There are moments when the noise of the world grows heavy, when even the air feels thick with worry, and every thought seems to echo too loud inside your chest. In those moments, it is not courage that keeps you standing, but the quiet memory that somewhere beyond what you can see, there is a presence, steady, unseen, and near. The Bible once called it the shadow of the Almighty, a place not of darkness, but of safety. It is not the shadow of fear, but the cool shade of peace. When the world feels like fire pressing close, His shadow becomes the shelter where your soul can breathe again. To live beneath that shadow is not to hide from life. It is to live through life without being burned by it. It is to walk through the storm while hearing His heartbeat louder than the thunder. Sometimes we think faith means having no fear, but maybe faith is learning where to stand when fear comes. And in the stillness, God whispers, "Stay close to me. Stay where my light touches you, and nothing will consume you." There is a difference between visiting His presence and dwelling in it. Visiting is what we do when life becomes unbearable. Dwelling is what we do when we finally understand that life without Him is unbearable. To dwell beneath His shadow is to build your home in His mercy, to let your heart unpack its bags and rest there. It means your trust no longer depends on outcomes. It depends on who holds the outcomes. You learn to say, "Even if the road bends, I will not move from under your covering." If you could see your soul from heaven's view, you'd see a fragile light constantly reaching upward, trembling, hoping to find the warmth that keeps it alive. And each time you turn your heart toward God, He leans closer. His peace drapes over you like a soft mantle, invisible but real. The world may not see it, but heaven does. Heaven sees a child standing under the hand of the Father, surrounded by light no darkness can enter. We spend so much of our strength trying to hold everything together: jobs, relationships, expectations, thinking that safety comes from control. Yet, in truth, safety comes from surrender. There is a paradox written in every believer's heart. The more we let go, the safer we become. Because surrender places us back into His hands, and His hands have never failed to protect what they hold. Under His shadow, you are not forgotten. You are remembered by name. Under His shadow, you are not weak. You are renewed with quiet strength that does not need to prove itself. When you dwell there, even the storms begin to sound different. They no longer roar as threats, but whisper reminders of who shelters you. The thunder may come, but it will pass. The winds may shake your branches, but they cannot uproot you when your roots are hidden deep in grace. And even if you walk through valleys unknown, you will find a strange calm in the darkness, because His shadow goes with you. It does not stay behind waiting for you to return. There will be days when faith feels small, when prayers come out as sighs instead of sentences. On those days, God does not demand more words. He asks only for your nearness. Sit with Him. Whisper His name. Let silence become the prayer. For even silence speaks when it is given to God. And in that holy hush, His peace seeps into your weary places. You might not always feel His presence, but the shadow of the Almighty does not depend on your feelings. It depends on His promise. And His promise has never failed. There is no fear that can reach you fully when you remain close to the one who conquered fear itself. There is no wound that cannot begin to heal when it rests in the warmth of His love. So when the day grows heavy, do not look for a way out. Look for His covering. When your heart trembles, whisper, "Lord, draw me near." When the unknown feels too large, remember, His shadow is not small. It stretches over all that concerns you. You are not walking unprotected. You are walking beneath the peace of a God who neither sleeps nor forgets. And if your heart feels lost tonight, breathe this truth: you are safe. Not because life is easy, but because He is faithful. You are safe beneath His shadow, where love defends you, where mercy watches, where grace holds you still. Stay there. Stay in that unseen shelter until your heartbeat begins to match His again. Father, draw me into your stillness. Let my soul rest beneath your wings. Remind me that no storm is stronger than your peace, and no fear can live where you dwell. Teach me to stay close, not just when life trembles, but in every breath. Amen. There comes a time when you no longer search for proof that God is near, because peace itself becomes your evidence. You start to realize that His presence does not always arrive with thunder or revelation, but often with the quiet endurance that keeps you standing when you should have fallen. What once felt like emptiness begins to feel like invitation, and the silence that used to frighten you becomes a sanctuary. You begin to understand that God's shadow is not an absence of light, but the nearness of it, so close that its glow rests upon your skin before your eyes can see it. The world often tells us to run, to fight, to prove our worth through noise and motion, but beneath His shadow you learn a new rhythm, stillness that speaks louder than striving. It's there you discover that strength has never been about resistance, but about resting in the one who cannot be moved. The same God who commands the storm also commands your heart to be still. And when you finally listen, the storm inside you begins to lose its power. The winds do not cease because you command them. They quiet because His peace has taken their place. Transformation happens quietly, the way dawn slips into night without asking permission. One day you wake and realize you no longer measure your faith by answered prayers, but by the calm that stays even when prayers seem unanswered. You stop chasing explanations and start cultivating trust. The questions that once kept you awake begin to lose their sharpness, because now you rest in something deeper than understanding. You rest in Him. To live under His shadow is to live in the paradox of faith. Surrender that feels like freedom, weakness that turns into strength, unseen battles that birth unshakable peace. The more you dwell there, the more you see how His mercy rebuilds the ruins of your heart. You realize that protection does not always mean escape. Sometimes it means endurance, the grace to remain steady when nothing else is. Every soul carries its own wilderness, a landscape of fears, regrets, and places we thought we'd never cross again. But under His shadow, those deserts begin to bloom. Where once you saw barrenness, now you find hidden springs of grace. Every scar becomes a map of where He has carried you. Every tear becomes a seed for joy not yet born. His peace does not erase what you've walked through, it redeems it. When you stay near Him long enough, something beautiful begins to shift. Your prayers change. They are no longer lists of needs, but confessions of love. You stop asking only for deliverance and start asking for nearness. The prayer becomes softer, simpler. Lord, keep me close. And in that closeness, you begin to mirror Him. Compassion replaces complaint. Gratitude replaces fear. Your life becomes less about outcomes and more about presence. His presence that never leaves. The world outside might not notice this transformation. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't draw attention. But heaven notices. The angels rejoice over a heart that has learned to rest. There is a holiness that hides in simplicity, a quiet glory that cannot be explained. God's greatest work in you may not be seen by others. It may simply be the peace that keeps you kind in a world that is breaking. You begin to see differently too. The same world that once felt hostile now feels held. The same moments that once felt ordinary now shimmer with purpose. Heaven notices. The angels rejoice over a heart that has learned to rest. There is a holiness that hides in simplicity, a quiet glory that cannot be explained. God's greatest work in you may not be seen by others. It may simply be the peace that keeps you kind in a world that is breaking. You begin to see differently too. The same world that once felt hostile now feels held. The same moments that once felt ordinary now shimmer with purpose. You find God in the smallest details, in the rhythm of your breath, in the pause before tears, in the warmth that returns after sorrow. You realize that His shadow is not a place you visit. It is the life you were made to live inside of. And when fear tries to return, you no longer fight it alone. You remember the truth you learned in the stillness. No shadow of darkness can survive within the shadow of the Almighty. The enemy cannot follow where peace abides. Worry cannot live where surrender has already spoken. You are no longer a guest in His presence. You are a child at home. So breathe. Let the world keep spinning its noise. You are covered. You are held. Even when life feels unpredictable, the one who shelters you never changes. His promises do not age. His protection does not expire. His shadow still stretches wide enough to hold every part of you, the brave, the broken, the becoming. Transformation is not what happens when you climb out of the storm. It's what happens when you find peace inside it. You begin to trust the process because you trust the one guiding it. You begin to walk lighter, not because life has fewer burdens, but because your heart no longer carries them alone. This is what grace does. It teaches your soul how to rest even while your feet keep moving. And maybe that's what holiness really looks like. Not perfection, but presence. Not a life free from struggle, but a heart that stays open in it. You do not need to prove your faith by how loudly you speak of it, but by how quietly you live it when no one is watching. Beneath His shadow, faith is not an achievement. It's a homecoming. Lord, shape my heart until peace becomes its natural language. Teach me to find you in both calm and chaos. Let your nearness be the air I breathe, and your will the ground I stand on. Keep me steady beneath your shadow. Amen. If these words touched your heart, whisper amen below. Share this light to bless another soul, and subscribe to stay close with 10 Minute with God, a quiet home for hearts that seek His peace each day. There is a moment, quiet and almost weightless, when the soul finally stops asking and starts resting. It is not defeat, it is devotion. You look around and nothing has changed, yet everything inside you has. The fear that used to arrive without knocking now finds the door already guarded by peace. The ache that once kept you awake still whispers, but softer, because you have learned the language of trust. You are no longer fighting for control. You are learning how to stay in the safety of surrender. Beneath His shadow, surrender is not loss, it is returning home. You begin to see that faith was never about escaping the storm, but about discovering who holds you inside it. The same hands that shaped the mountains now steady your trembling. The same voice that called light into being now calls your name in the dark. And somewhere between your heartbeat and His silence, you realize that you are not merely protected, you are known. You are held not because you earned it, but because love refuses to let you go. The more you stay in that truth, the smaller your battles feel. Worry fades like mist under the warmth of grace. The future no longer terrifies you. It waits like open fields, ready to bloom when He commands. The shadow that covers you becomes a constant companion, not a fleeting comfort, but the rhythm of your existence. You carry it with you into the noise of the world, and people begin to feel something in your presence they can't quite name. They call it calm, but you know it is Him. To live this way is to let the sacred interrupt the ordinary. Every breath becomes a confession, I belong to you. Every step becomes worship. Even in the hum of daily life, washing dishes, driving, speaking gently to someone who doesn't deserve it, you find His nearness woven between seconds. His peace doesn't visit, it abides. And when the night stretches long, when silence thickens and you feel small again, that same peace settles over you like the hush before dawn. It reminds you that His protection has no expiration, that grace is not seasonal, and that love, real love, outlasts every shadow except His own. There are days when gratitude pours easily from your lips, and others when it hides behind exhaustion. Yet both belong to Him. Gratitude is not about feeling full, it's about remembering who fills you. It's about whispering thanks in the spaces between blessings, believing that even emptiness is being shaped into something holy. God's presence does not demand perfection, it invites honesty. And honesty is what turns your fragile moments into sacred ones. Perhaps this is what it means to be transformed, not to rise above humanity, but to let divinity meet you inside it. To stop striving to be unbreakable and start believing that even your cracks can carry light. Under His shadow, the pieces of you find purpose again. Every scar glows faintly with redemption. Every failure becomes soil for something better to grow. You don't have to understand how He turns ashes into beauty. It's enough to let Him. And so, this final surrender doesn't sound dramatic. It sounds like quiet laughter after tears. It sounds like a small whisper, "I am yours." You stop measuring your closeness to God by how strong you feel, and start measuring it by how quickly you run to Him when you fall. The more you trust, the softer life becomes, even when it's hard. Because softness is not weakness, it's proof that the heart has learned to love without fear. Maybe tonight, or whenever this finds you, you can let your guard down again. Let the armor slip. Let grace come in like light through the smallest window. Let your thoughts unclench their fists. You don't have to fight every battle alone. You were never meant to. Beneath His shadow, you are not a soldier trying to survive. You are a child learning to breathe again. If peace feels distant, whisper His name until it returns. If hope feels faint, remember that His light never fades. Sometimes it just hides long enough to teach your eyes to see. Every time you choose faith over fear, the world changes a little more than you realize. Heaven bends closer. Angels take note, and the Father smiles because His child has learned to rest. In this stillness, there is nothing left to prove, only love left to give. You don't need to reach higher. You only need to sink deeper into His presence. Safe beneath His shadow, you are enough, because He is enough in you. The world outside will keep turning, but the heart that abides in God moves differently, slower, steadier, truer. Father, thank You for teaching me that peace is not the absence of storms, but the presence of You. Keep me near Your heart, beneath Your faithful shadow, until my soul forgets how to fear. Let Your light rest on me, gentle and sure. Amen. If your heart felt His peace here, whisper Amen. Share this moment of light, and subscribe to walk with us at 10 Men with God, where every word is a prayer and every listener becomes part of His blessing.